Oh, this what they've been waiting on? Ha ha ha! It's the Gringo and Tom Show! Let's go! It's the Gringo and Tom Show, y'all ready to go? Late night sports talk, y'all ready to go? Gringo be hitting his points. Tom coming in and he won't disappoint. Nah. Be swinging for the fences and striking you out. Yeah. Now let's see what this is all about. Let go. It's the Gringo and Tom Show, y'all ready to go? It's the Gringo and Tom Show, y'all ready to go? Ready to go, river ready to go. It's the Gringo and Tom Show, y'all ready to go? Hey, yeah. It's starting right about now.
All right, there we go. Another episode of the Gringo and Tom Show, April 12th, 2021. Let's go.
Let's go.
My name is Gringo, and over here we got my boy.
It's your boy Tom. What's good,
right,
everyone?
That's right. All right, let's start with storylines of the weekend. Let's talk about that Yankees-Rays series. Yankees lose the series 2-3. It was a very disappointing weekend, but there was a couple of highlights, especially on Sunday. But let's concentrate more on the Friday, Saturday games. What are some things that you took note during those games, Tom?
Bro, they're still not hitting with runners in scoring position. They finally did it on Sunday, but this team is having so much trouble doing that. It's going to get better. I promise everyone, it'll get better, but my goodness. This team just has a tendency to do that, where they just don't cash in with a big hit. And it's always the same players. It's always like Judge coming up in the big spot. He hits like the hard ground ball, but then it's a double play. Or it's like Torres doing, even though Torres came through on Sunday, but I feel like he's always the guy too who just gets unlucky or just doesn't get it done. It's the same story for the Yankees, but they're gonna be fine. The pitching is gonna be all right. Mingo Herman sent to AAA. He'll be back soon. Hopefully he's better, but you know, man, they're gonna be fine. That's what I'm saying.
They're
gonna be fine.
All right. I like that. In terms of the Friday, Saturday games, what really disappointed me was the fact that, like, if it wasn't the pitching, it was the hitting.
Yeah, dude.
And vice versa.
Right. It was like they always found the way to, like, get it wrong. And it was so annoying. I'm like, if they can just get it right, they'll win. And they got it right on Sunday. And they won.
It reminded me of, with those parties with the piñata when you're hitting it. And people are disappointed. People are like, I'm hitting it, but it's not getting the good spot where everything can come out.
Not getting the sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot. That's a great way of looking at the Yankee situation.
That's a fact.
Because everyone's trying to hit the ball, everyone's trying to do their part, but they're having their April struggles. And once that's what I'm gonna get to now is once they eventually exploded, once Odor basically hit that piñata and everything came out, Gary got a hit. Then we had who else got a hit after Gary?
My boy Urshela. They should have gave him the cycle. He hit a bomb. Should have gave him the cycle, but they didn't.
Yep, he hit a bomb.
Man.
But
that was fun.
Once the addition of Odor, we don't know what's going to happen to him, obviously, but
fair.
It has helped so far. And just the fact that he came up clutch in that just lets you know that he is capable of putting some type of impact on the team however he can.
I've seen a couple things from the early goings of Odor. I don't know how to feel about him. He hits a lot of pop-ups. He hit 2 pop-ups on Sunday. So that's something to watch. But yeah, that at-bat was golden. He took some tough pitches, and he just made it work. He beat that piñata right to the ground.
That's right.
it just led the way for the rest of the team. And then the kid Albert Abreu, he just did his thing, and that was that.
I forgot to mention it was also Gary who hit who hit the ball to center, a ground ball to center,
Yeah,
scoring
he did.
another run.
Gary,
So
Gary
the
Sanchez has been the
Yankees,
best hitter on the team so
yes,
far.
he's my
Hot take.
MVP so far for the Yankees.
I would have to agree. Him or Garrett Cole, depending on how Cole does today. But I would
Yeah,
say you can't go wrong with either one of those. They've been beasts. Gary
that's right.
Sanchez he's looking like the guy we saw in 2017. The steady, not striking out too much, power hitter. His defense isn't great, but it's pretty good. I feel good about Gary Sanchez, man. I
One thing
felt
that I
good
wanted
about
to
him
talk
going
about in terms of
into the year.
Gary is a lot of people saying that he's lazy, which you can't do that. You can't
That's
say that a
dumb.
professional player is lazy because you do not know what type of things they do before the game, how many hours they put in spring training, et cetera, et cetera. I saw a TikTok video talking about that, and there was video of him practicing for 3 hours before the game, stretching and practicing, and that just comes to show that he's working on his craft. Some of it might not be translating onto the field, but he's working on it.
He works harder. I think he works harder, if not as hard as anyone on the Yankees. He's got a killer work ethic. It's just that he gets overwhelmed. He's playing in New York. He's on the biggest stage, the brightest stage. How could you blame him, man? Like
100%.
he's got all the pressure in the world. He has to catch all these top arms. Dude, it's so much. It's so
Without a
much.
doubt. Speaking of another star on in New York, we're going to talk about Jacob deGrom. Free deGrom, just free deGrom. That's all I have to say. I feel
facts.
so bad for him. I saw a stat that said 57 of his starts, he's gone 6 or 7 plus, and he has not had a win or well, either a win. He hasn't gotten the win. He's either gotten a no decision or a loss. Like
Big fat L.
Like literally, that's just so frustrating. If I were a Mets fan, I would be so frustrated in the offense. It's just
I'd be
so
so tight.
devastating.
I'd be so tight. And the thing that's so disappointing about all of it is that you have a guy like DeGrom on the mound. You expect him to be the reason why you win the East because I don't know. I had the Mets winning the East going into the year. If they can't win, DeGrom starts, dude. Like, how are they going to win the division?
No.
I know it's just like, it's luck kind of thing. Like, it's just bad luck. But, dude, it's so crazy how they can't win
Their
his
offense
games.
is dead.
Their offense does look like it doesn't have a lot of juice. It's kind of going through what the Yankees offense has been going through up until Sunday. So you hope they can turn it around.
With less power, though. With less power.
A lot less power. Michael Conforto, the quote-unquote hero of Friday's game, had a really especially rough weekend, I've heard. Really rough weekend. Oh, boy. And the rest of the lineup, I think the only guy who's actually doing damage is Brandon Nimmo. Everyone else is like below 250.
They're cold. They
gotta pick it up.
But one important thing to note is what really has affected them is the fact that they've had so many games postponed. They're going to have a lot of back-to-backs and double headers as we head to August and September. So that's going to be really crucial because the weather report here in New York calls for some more rain during this week, so that's going to cause even more double headers, and it's going to be more of a headache because they can't get in sync because they've only had a couple of games under their belt. Like you can't really blame them in that sense. They can't get in sync.
It's tough. We saw that with the Cardinals last year. They struggled especially because they missed so many games early in the year, and then they just had to play all these games at once late in the year, and it just did not help them out. They ended up not making the playoffs, even though maybe they were good enough. But yeah, and then the Marlins were the one team that defied that, but they had to defy a lot. They literally were what you call the Cinderella story of MLB last year.
A lot of things had to go right for them to get in the position that they were in.
Oh, no doubt. It's just going to hurt the Mets a lot. You hope that...
And Another player that for the Mets that showed frustrations was Marcus Stroman. He was
Mm-hmm.
on the mound for 9 pitches, and that's when they called it. And fitting enough, well, it was due to the rain delay, but
Right,
due to the
right.
rain. But
Mm-hmm.
fitting enough, the Mets had the decision on whether or not to even start the game. And it
That's
just baffles me that they
bogus.
decided to start the game knowing that it would rain as much as it did, and to
Oh
really
my
mess up Stroman.
gosh. Dude, that is wild. I don't understand that. So, if you saw the weather forecast for Sunday, you would know that it was not a good day to play baseball. It rained almost all day. It looked like it was going to rain all day. I don't understand why you would even start that game. Now, the game got suspended, so it's not a total wash, but you just wasted Stroman for 9 pitches for what reason? Like, did you really think you were going to get more than a couple innings at best? It's just
No,
it's kind of just wild. I don't understand it at all.
they were more or less just hoping on the fact that, hey, if it is raining, how about we play 5 innings and we can squeak out a couple of runs. Stroman can go 4 or so, and that's how we can get our victory. We can get our victory on that on that note. But like, I don't understand what type of logic they had in terms of doing that.
Yeah, like I could understand that, but then it's so much that you're just betting against yourself there. I'd rather just play a 9 inning game. You're the better team in that spot. It's the Marlins, dude. I know they beat DeGrom in the hilarious fashion the day before, but you can beat the Marlins. You're the class of the East supposedly. So I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
I don't get it myself. I do not get it. Speaking of not getting players, we're going to talk about some free agents which are still on the market, which in our heads we're more or less just, why are they still on the market? Um, Tom,
Yeah.
who would you like to first start off with?
I'm gonna start with relief pitcher Shane Green. He's a former Yankee, pretty good pitcher. He did well with the Braves last year. I'm surprised he's still out there. I'm guessing that he's dealing with some sort of injury, and that's probably why teams are not picking him up. But he threw 98 last year. He was a good arm. I'm kind of surprised by that. You have teams that need pitching. I don't get it. I really don't get it. He's got to be hurt.
That's right. That's
He's
right.
got to be hurt.
That's a really interesting to note, because a couple years back he was just on fire. Like,
Yeah.
you couldn't stop him. You couldn't stop him, especially since when the Tiger decided to switch him to the bullpen, and that really like amped him up. It allowed him to get his pitches on lock, and he could just full force, just boom. And
Picking up
now
those
it's just
shame.
shame. It's just a shame
It
that
is a shame.
he's not on the team. A couple of players that are also not on teams are Edwin Encarnacion and
Ah,
Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp.
that doesn't shock me.
It
But
doesn't. It really
yeah,
doesn't myself. But I think more or less just, I would have liked to seen maybe Edwin like a DH role, like 2 or 3 days a week, because he still has that pop.
he
Like,
still has the pop, no doubt
still,
about it.
but
He's still
his
walking the
average
parrot.
his average is not that good. Obviously, last year it was
Yeah,
bad. It was really bad. But
2020 was not kind of him at all. No.
no. And with Matt Kemp, what do you think about that situation? Do you think he'll be signed again, or you think it's time for him to call it quits?
You know what? I think it's not impossible because there's teams like the Marlins or the Royals out there that might be willing to roll the dice, especially since you still have COVID out there. Like, there's going to be guys who, like, we saw what happened with the Nationals. They lost a bunch of guys. They had to turn to Jonathan Lucroy, a guy everybody thought was done, and he got another shot because both their catchers went down. I know that was a catching position. That's a little bit different, but it's not out of the question that these guys, Encarnacion and Kemp, could get a shot because of
That's
that.
true.
I think they could get a shot if there's like a mini outbreak. Hopefully there isn't, but it feels kind of inevitable in the way the game is right now.
Another player to note is Yasiel Puig, which
Oh yeah.
the wild horse himself. There's a lot of reasons as to why he's not signed, but
Oh,
the biggest one
there's
has to be
plenty.
his anger issues and his off the field stuff that has been going on.
He is what you would call a loose cannon, man. He's done it all, basically. I saw the video of him driving 110 miles an hour down in Florida. I saw, what else have I seen? That's really all they've had out there, but I've heard, and then remember he got robbed 3 times in the same
Oh,
season?
oh my
Like,
God,
dude, what?
Puig.
A guy like that just has it going for him, in my opinion, but yeah, he's not generated a lot of interest. He wasn't very good in 2020. I still think he deserves maybe a chance. I heard there's some, domestic violence stuff hanging over his head. That probably is why he hasn't gotten signed, but he was on track to being signed last year with the Braves. Fell apart because he tested positive for
Positive.
COVID.
Yep.
That's a
That's what I was
bad break.
expecting to
That's a really
say.
bad break because he would have been with
Sucks.
a good team and he probably would have had a lot of playing time the way their outfield was. So
And
frustrating, but that's
one
where he
thing to
is.
note is imagine Puig on the Braves, especially during the NLCS against his former team
That's what I'm saying. He would have fired him up at the very least. He would have
with
been
Kung
having
Fu
fun.
Panda,
Oh yeah. He
with
probably
Pablo
wouldn't have
Sandoval.
he probably
Imagine
wouldn't have made the
those two
roster.
likes coming together. Former Giants, former Dodgers players, just like
Bro.
let's get the band together and let's beat our former team. That would have been great to see.
I could have seen Puig like going over to the panda, like shaking his stomach up and down,
And
doing
then
stuff like
Puig
that.
like sticking out his tongue.
Oh my goodness, that would have been so much fun, but it didn't happen. It wasn't meant to be.
Yep. The
Alas.
final player to note is Yoenis Cespedes,
Yeah.
which
Mm-hmm.
it's a very interesting case given the fact that last year he basically just said, "All right, Mets, I'm gone. I'm gone."
I've heard a lot of different reports on what happened, but I think he did the wrong thing in all the reports.
Shouldn't have done it
So
in that fashion.
no, he shouldn't have. He basically just left without telling the team anything. But to be fair, the team did a horrible job of like trying to get in touch with him. They didn't even like ask if he was okay until the game was starting. It was
Oh
so
my
weird. So
God.
the Mets looked bad somehow, as they always seem to do. Like the poor Mets, they can't seem to catch a break in any of these situations. But what a rough situation with Cespedes. He just didn't do
Yeah.
the right stuff. Now no one wants him because he's injury prone. He's had clubhouse issues in the past, and he's on the wrong side of 30. So
Yep.
he's got talent, but you really can't count on him for much. Again, he might get a shot eventually. He might.
Yeah.
I think he might.
Most definitely on an American League team. That's where I
Yeah,
see him, especially with the DH.
you got to
Yeah.
handle him with care for sure.
Yeah.
Oh
All
boy.
right. So we're gonna end our show with this day in baseball history. So here's this little nugget that I found. So in 2010, on this date, with 9,129 fans in attendance, the Orioles had their smallest crowd in their 19-year history of Camden Yards.
Oh
They
boy.
they were playing fitting enough to another team who doesn't really get that many fans, the Rays.
I
So
know it. Yep.
that's very fitting enough that these teams who usually don't garner enough fans in the first place happen to have
That's an understatement.
9,000 on the field at the same time. That's very very unfortunate.
Wait, what year was this?
2010.
Oh, 2010. Oh boy. Ooh. Not a good
Yep.
time to be an Orioles fan for sure.
Nope.
The
Nope.
Rays weren't bad per se. They were a good team back then, but man, the Orioles were just they everybody forgets how bad the Orioles were for so many years in that AL East.
100%.
Free wins for the Yankees and Red Sox for so many
Yeah.
years.
Well, with that, see you on the next episode, and let's go Yankees.
Let's go Yankees. See y'all on the flip side.
That's right.
Let's beat Toronto.
Oh, this what they've been waiting on? Ha ha ha. It's the Gringo and Tom Show. Let's go. It's the Gringo and Tom Show. Y'all ready to go? Late night sports talk. Y'all ready to go? Gringo be hitting his points. Tom coming in and he won't disappoint. Nah. They be swinging for the fences. and striking you out. Yeah. Now let's see what this is all about. Lego. It's the Gringo and Tom Show, y'all ready to go? It's the Gringo and Tom Show, y'all ready to go? Ready to go, River ready to go. It's the Gringo and Tom Show, y'all ready to go? Hey, it's done right about now.